Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? Caught in a landslide, no escape from reality. Welcome to A Night at the Opera. How is everybody doing? Hope you're all well. We're going to take a look at A Night at the Opera. This was Queen's fourth studio album, released in November 1975, but it is now going to be 50 years old. And this is a little bit premature, but the thing is, I got into Queen in late 1984, and I actually started buying the albums on cassette in 1985, so it's 40 years 40 years of collecting Queen's music for me. And you know, I heard of them in the 70s. I remember Don't Stop Me Now on Top of the Pops when that came out. But in 1985, it was around June. I was in the middle of exams. I was only 16. And I ended up buying this. This was the cassette of A Night at the Opera. It was it Price Attack or something, EMI. It's got the little round thing here, the logo. I love that. And I was blown away by this album. It's probably their artistic peak. I know a lot of people will say, "Oh, it couldn't be, you know, the Queen 2 and whatever," but I think that the first Queen album is definitely not their best. That's what they were capable of as a rock band, but their skills and their songcraft and their innovation, the sound is on the first album, Queen 1 they call it now. But I think it was Queen 2 showed that they could be diverse, but that is kind of a, how will I put it, that's kind of a concept album. It still has the kind of fairies and goblins and stuff like that in it, but it was Sheer Heart Attack in 1974 was actually, they perfected the Queen sound and what Queen could do. It was a totally original, and I think Night at the Opera then comes from that. It stems from that. I think it's probably their Sergeant Pepper. I don't like using those kind of terms, like they're lazy terms, but it's definitely their artistic peak, not because it had Bohemian Rhapsody as a single, which was hugely successful and #1 for 9 weeks, but every song on it is good, and the sounds they used to get the songs materialized are amazing. But this was the original. This was the cassette. You can see it's kind of worn off and stuff like that. I remember listening to this in June 1985 and being blown away. I think is there an error on it? Yeah, not an error, but at the end of side 1 you've got Good Company, but on the vinyl it's the end of side 1 is actually Seaside Rendezvous. So this has those two tracks swapped around for some reason. I'm not sure if all the cassettes were like that. Maybe they were, but it's not the original running order. Good Company is just before Bohemian Rhapsody on side 2. So yeah, there you go. But that's the cassette, and I had a little cheap, I think it was Academy Walkman. And now this is the vinyl. This is a 70s press, EMTC 103, UK pressing. Produced by Roy Thomas Baker and Queen executive engineer Mike Stone. All titles composed, arranged and performed exclusively by Queen. Yeah, and then the lyric came in here in the gatefold. And you had the inner, which is all live shots, and then the vinyl itself with the crest on it, fantastic. And Yeah, so a lot of different versions came out over the years. There's also the Electra vinyl from the US. And then you have, um, whoops, the 2011 Bob Ludwig remaster cut in 2015 as a half speed. Again, it's the same, follows the same thing. The inner sleeve and stuff like that. So it's just comes with a bag here like this with the inner. They did that with all of these. But it's a great album. You know, I've often kind of juggled between this and A Day at the Races, the one that came after it. But I like both. But this is very special. I think it's very strong, maybe a little tad stronger than Races. I think they were going to release a double album, an amalgamation of A Night at the Opera and A Day at the Races. That would have been very interesting. It would have been probably their white album. Then there you've got the CD versions that came out over the years. This is the CDP from 1986. I always found this one sounded a little bit strange. There's a bit of distortion and a bit of dullness on it. You know, it's not bad, but it's not the best version by any means. I think the Bob Ludwig is absolutely fantastic. When I heard it first, back in, was it 2005? They had the 30th anniversary, and I think it really sounds well on this. This master has been used ever since, as far as I know. This was the start of Ludwig doing the actual catalog. And here you have the CD and the DVD. There's also a DVD-A version, surround sound mix, I think from 2002. There's probably Electra versions as well. There's actually in 1993 Digital Master Series. I've covered all these in other videos. This one's a little bit brighter. I think there's noise reduction used in these ones. Again, you know, I was never. It's only the Ludwig is actually the best sounding as far as I'm concerned. Of course, there's some extra artwork here for the sessions. It's probably one of the most expensive albums ever recorded. It was recorded in 6 different studios. It's Roger and Brian. Trident, London, Olympic, London, Rockfield, Monmouthshire, Lansdowne, Kensington, Sarm East, London, Roundhouse, Camden, London, Scorpio Sound, Camden. Yeah, it was a big deal at the time. You know, they wanted to get the drums right and all this stuff, and it's you know, there's lots of documentaries online about the tape wearing thin when they were doing the overdubs for Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah. What else have we got? We've got the Hollywood CD as well. This has got some remixes on it. I'm in love with my car. Mike Shipley, and then You're My Best Friend, remixed by Matt Wallace. The remixes I wouldn't advise. Yeah, there you go. These were different. They didn't have booklets. They had more like a leaflet, and they put in some pictures of singles as well for different territories. So it's a nice touch, but yeah, they're only okay. There's also Japanese versions of it. Lots of different types. Again, this is the 2005 in a normal CD box. Then there's the Ludwig itself again, which came out in the 2011s, but it's possibly the 2005 master. again, it sticks to the original, you know, there's not much extra here. There was a 2 CD version as well with bonus tracks. Bonus tracks weren't great. Yeah, not great at all. But I wonder, you know, are we going to get a 50th anniversary? They'll probably do a picture disc or something. I'm not sure if they're going to do a box set. Classic albums. This is another one from 2005. And of course, there's interviews with Brian May, and they go through the whole thing, studio and the recording and stuff like that. That's quite interesting. It's worth getting your hands on. It's not expensive. So yeah. So the actual songs themselves. Why is it so good? Well, I guess it kicks off with Dead on Two Legs. It has this kind of menacing, cascading piano coming in at the start, and it says here dedicated to. As far as I know, it's dedicated to Norman Sheffield. He was their first manager. They fell out with him when they realized that there was something not right. If you listen to Queen Life Killers, Freddie says this next song is from A Night at the Opera. It's about that, and then there's 3 bleeps, which I always absolutely hated. If you put it onto a computer yourself, you can actually chop out those bleeps. And you know, I'm always afraid that if they remaster it sometime, whatever, they'll just keep the bleeps in, and the bleeps shouldn't even be there. But I think he says this is about a motherfucker. We call him Dead on Two Legs. But Norman Sheffield actually sued the band. Or I guess Mercury probably rang him up and said, look, that's about you. But there was no proof. They left him anyway, and then the rest is history. I think John Reid managed them for a while. He was Elton John's manager, and then Jim Beach. So Dead on Two Legs is fantastic. There's amazing guitar in it by Brian May. Yeah, the lyrics are great as well. Yeah, it's just a great song, a great opening, a very strong opening, very menacing. Mercury is almost spitting blood and venom. Then that goes into the middle of a kind of a 3-part. You know, the 3 songs are almost related to each other in some way because there's tight editing. It just goes feel good and there's a chop, but then it goes lazing on a Sunday afternoon. I can imagine Paul McCartney doing something like that. It's really like something out of Sgt. Pepper's. Great little song, you know, just like something from the 20s. And then of course goes into I'm in Love with My Car. It's a Roger Taylor song. Very, very good song about dedicated to Jonathan Harris, Boy Racer to the End. I think Harris was one of the road crew or something like that. But yeah, it's great. It was the B-side of Bohemian Rhapsody, which means that Mercury wrote Bohemian Rhapsody, but Roger Taylor ended up getting a lot of royalties off the single itself because it was #1 for 9 weeks. Probably sold millions, whatever. And so that's on the 7-inch single. You can actually hear different noises on it, car noises at the start as well as the end. So it's slightly different than the album cut. And then we have You're My Best Friend. That's written by Deacon. That's almost kind of Motown feel. Reminds me of Diana Ross. Great track. It was a single. Brilliant drum sound on it. There's electric piano on it, Fender Rhodes and stuff like that. It's very, very good. Then you got 39. That's a Brian May track. He was kind of saying he was going for kind of Lonnie Donegan skiffle feel. And it's kind of got almost like a T-chest bass, but it's actually John Deacon is playing a double bass. Brian sings that. It's a really good song, and I like Mercury's backing vocal on it as well. It's about a guy that travels into space and he ends up going back in time. So he ends up meeting his wife is only a child or something like that. I can't remember. It's a bit strange. And then we have Sweet Lady. This always reminds me of the Rolling Stones. It's not the strongest track on the album, but it's still, you know, pretty heavy, and the lyrics don't really mean much, but so again, some great guitar on it, like, you know, there's a lot going on. Yeah, Just reminds me of the Stones a little bit. Very good. And then we have Seaside Rendezvous, which is a Mercury song. It's insane. It's 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 kind of like something from the good old days, or vaudeville and stuff like that. It's really good. It's very, very good. Or music hall, kind of Victorian. And then there's vocal orchestration of brass on that by Roger, all done with his mouth. You have to hear it. And then vocal orchestration of Woodwind by Freddie. Just they used all kind of knickknacks on this album. There's even a thing called the Deaky amp he used. It's a 1-watt amp he used on his bass. And then we have The Prophet's Song. This is a Brian May masterpiece. This is fantastic. I will say that if you're only into Queen and you've got Greatest Hits 1 and 2, and you want to buy the back catalogue, I'd say just buy Night at the Opera before you buy anything else, because it's so good you'll want everything else. It's hard to beat this album. Prophet's Song is fantastic. The guitar is really heavy on it. Not like Deep Purple or Black Sabbath, but it's just heavy. It's angry and it's menacing, and it's about it's almost like kind of the old man, stuff like that. It's kind of looks like kind of End of the World and stuff like that. Then it's kind of Taikoto. It's a Japanese stringed instrument by Brian May, and it goes off into Mercury's beautiful ballad, Love of My Life. Beautiful the way they flow into each other. But the vocal section in The Prophet's Song has to be heard in stereo with headphones. It's stunning. Or else crank up your stereo but turn the lights out. Then we've got Good Company. That's another good one by Brian May. Again, it's kind of a little bit twee, and it's got Genuine Aloha Ukulele made in Japan by Brian, and then this guitar jazz band Brian May. He makes a jazz sound. It's kind of like, again, 1920s kind of style stuff or whatever. It's all done with guitar. Frank Zappa once said, when he was asked who do you think is the best guitarist around now at the moment, and he said, this was around 74 or 5, and he says the guy in Queen, Brian May, is the only guy that's really doing anything new. And Zappa was out there. And Good Company, it's good. It's another good song. And then, of course, Bohemian Rhapsody. There's not an awful lot to say about that, because I'd be only wasting my time. It's probably one of the most famous songs, famous singles, famous number ones of all time. And again, Freddie Mercury obviously wrote that. And so then the album ends with God Save the Queen, the British national anthem. But it's a masterpiece, and like I said, hard to believe it's going to be 50 this year. 50 years old, Night at the Opera. It's probably, let's be honest, Data Race is very good as well. It's classic Queen. And then, of course, after that, you've News of the World. A little bit stripped down. Again, now they were very famous at that stage. And I would say like that News is a little bit stripped down. It's not as strong as Opera, but it's still a good album in its own right. And then Jazz, where things get a little bit diffused, and then of course they became a little bit slicker on the game, and then the rest is the 80s stuff. You wouldn't call classic Queen. I think classic Queen is kind of two, Sheer Heart Attack, Opera, Races, and I think it starts to change. I think just after News of the World, it even changes then. Between 76 and 77 it changed. They were a huge touring band. They were big in the States, they were big in Japan, they were big in every country. So that's it. So that's A Night at the Opera. Fond memories for me. It's a great album, and if you don't have it, check it out, and if you have it, go back and listen to it again. It's a masterpiece. And if you have any comments or questions, comment below, hit the like button, and thanks for supporting the channel and subscribing and all that kind of malarkey. Anyway, take care. Thanks for watching.